In bash, we have multiple mechanisms to allow us to create our own commands. We've been writing scripts. That's a way to create our own commands. We save a set of commands in a file and run the file name as a command. A similar technique we can use is to create something called a function. A function is a block of commands, just like we would put in a script. We give it a name, and the difference is we don't store it in a file. We store it in bash process memory, just like it was a variable or an alias. So we can define or create our own functions in each script. It acts just like a regular command. Command line arguments are passed through to it using the standard command line argument variables. 1, 2, 3, 4, however many arguments there are on that command line. A function has an exit status. The last command to run in a function is the exit status of the function. Any commands that produce standard output in the function will be producing the output of the function itself when it runs as a command. We can send data to it by putting data in variables and simply use the variables inside the function, because variables are shared between the function and the rest of the script by default. A function may be terminated early if you encounter either an error condition or some other condition that makes the rest of the function commands irrelevant. Instead of exit, we use the command return for that. And once you've created a function, you can see what's in it and you can delete the function. Seeing what's in it is done by typing the type command with the name of the function. Getting rid of a function from memory is done by doing unset and the function name. Creating a function can be done with the function command, which is actually optional, then specifying whatever name you wish to create for your function. Open a curly brace, put a list of commands to be in the function, and finish it with a curly brace. There are other more advanced forms for functions, but this is the basic mechanism. So by comparison to something like an alias, we could create an alias for ourselves to log a message to the system logging service using the warning priority so that we don't have to type out the whole command, which can get a little bit ugly, by using the alias command. Now with an alias command, you can create a new command and you can make it execute a command whenever you type the name of the alias. So I'm defining one called log warning here, and when I type log warning, it runs the rest of that line as a command. So if I were to type log warning after defining that with some message to send to the daemon, it would go ahead and do that. And if I wanted to verify that went into the system log file, I could use the tail command to look at the last line of the log file. It's probably the last message in there. And indeed, there is my message. And it saves me having to type out the full name of the logger command, the full set of variables and parameters for it, or simply to make my life easier to read my script to see that that's what I'm doing. You can get rid of an alias with unalias, and then it's gone. To see your aliases, you would do the alias command. So functions are very similar to this, but instead of having only one command that you can put into the alias, with a function, you can have as many commands as you wish. And you can use all kinds of variables, you can return early, you can do things as complex as you need to do them. So creating a similar function to what we just did for log warning can be done fairly easily. We use the function command to create a new function called log warning. We open a curly brace, We put in the commands that will be part of our function, as many or few as we need, and finish with a curly brace. We have defined the function. We can now use it as a command in this bash shell. If we were to start another bash shell, it would not know that function existed. It's stored in memory, just like an alias or a variable. So I could go ahead now and say log warning, and it would run my command. The command line arguments variables work in a function. So unlike an alias, we are not just substituting on the command line, we are actually running a script inside of our shell. Since I didn't use any command line argument variables, $1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., inside my function, I can't pass anything to it on the command line. The logger command can take its input from standard in. So in this case, the input would need to come into my function for the logger command to work on it. So in this case, I might do something like echo and the message and pipe that to my function, where the logger command will take that text as input and write it to the log. Then when I look at my log message, I will see that it got logged. If I wanted to use command line arguments, I could. If I wanted to see what's in my function before I made changes, I use the type command and give it the name of the function. It shows me it's a function and shows me what's in it. To change what's in it, I would want to redefine the function. Defining the function is done the same way as usual. And now if we go ahead and take a look at what's in it, we'll find it has changed. And the change you'll see is that I've added on sending whatever is in the first argument to the log warning command that I just created as the message for logger. So I could now say log warning and whatever the message is, all in argument number 1, so it needs to be in quotes. And then if I take a look at what went into the log file, I should see my log message. There are other ways to access this. There are other things you can do with it. You can redirect the output of log warning. It acts just like you're running a script, but it runs in the current shell and it's stored only in memory.